Rebellions are built on hope.
And welcome to a very special episode of Radio Rebellion, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Alberto Calderon. Over there is our co-host, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and our special guest today, author of the brand new Star Wars novel that just came out this past Tuesday, Master of Evil, is Adam Christopher. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing? Can you hear me, Adam? How are you doing over there? No, there's some technical difficulties.
Did we lose?
Can you hear us or no? I'm guessing no.
Oh, lost him again.
All right, so we'll wait for Adam to get back. Before we started, some connection issues over there that he's been having, some storms where he's at, losing internet. So, but anyway, Oti, how you been doing? We'll get him back in a couple of minutes. How you been doing?
I'm doing fine. It's unfortunately it's Sunday, which gives me the Monday scaries, but or Sunday scaries. I don't know how you guys call it. But yeah, I have a lot of cleaning up to do when we're done because my family's coming over for Thanksgiving. So.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the good things that it's still not over completely with the shutdown being over. Maybe airports start working a little bit better. I know it's been a problem in a lot of places.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about the shutdown being over, because like I was starting to get concerned, being like, oh my god, like have a lot of people flying over. It's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
Okay, we maybe got him.
All right, Adam, welcome back. How you doing?
Yes, I'm here. Okay, thank you very much, and I'm sorry about that. I'm here. I hope. I can't see you. I can hear you, so we're all good.
Okay,
all right.
we can see you and hear you. So
yeah, a great background over there. We'll go ahead and get started. I know there's some connection issues. So I don't want to have you keep dropping in and out, but I think congratulations. Mostly, the book is out. Finally, you can talk about it. Is it more stressful now that a book is out, or are you kind of relieved?
Yeah, I think I'm relieved.
Okay.
You can hear me all right?
Yes.
I can still, good. Okay, yes, I'm relieved. I get very nervous as we get closer and closer, and then the actual day of release is very busy and kind of crazy, as you can imagine. And then I'm just relaxed, and there's certain things that happen after a book comes out for that week where I'll probably start getting nervous again next week sometime. Okay. But yeah, it's like it's out of my hands. Like everybody, the book is not mine anymore. It belongs to readers. Nothing I can do now about anything. So yeah.
Yeah, some of my opinion separate. Everything I've seen online, people have loved it. People are starting to read into it, get some. I don't want to do too many spoilers because the book just came out less than a week ago, but people are finding out some of the things that happen, and everyone's very interested, and they love what's going on. So again, congratulations. I can understand why it's a stressful time after so much work, but I think it was worth it.
Oh, good. No, thank you. Yeah, people seem to be liking it so far. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, I still don't have my copy. I recently moved and had it shipped to my other address, so my mom will bring it over for Thanksgiving. But I'm very excited to read it. Like, I was telling Alberto after Shadow of the Sith, I was like, I'll read anything this man writes, because like, especially if it starts out earlier. Like, sure, like let's go.
Yeah, we need to get into your Doctor Who stuff also at some point. But...
Oh yeah, that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, okay, let's go ahead and get you started.
So Adam, talk to us a little bit. You've written in the Star Wars universe before, so this is clearly like a universe you enjoy at least writing for. Could you talk a little bit about your Star Wars story and how you got into the franchise and how that relationship with the Star Wars story has evolved over the years?
Yeah, so it actually started back in 2015, I think. So, long story short, a friend of mine, Chuck Wendig, wrote the Aftermath trilogy, and we had the same agent. So when he got the Aftermath books, I've always wanted to write a Star Wars book, and he was like, "Well, I can introduce you to the editors at Del Rey at the time." So I did, and it was 2015. It was San Diego Comic Con, 2015, where I met Elizabeth, the editor, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, great. You've done fine work before. You have to be an established author because there's lots of behind the scenes things.
Sure.
They need to be able to rely on someone who knows what they're doing and who's got a track record of doing all that. So that's fine. That was fine." But she was just like, there's no books, and you'll be waiting for like a long time, and maybe there'll be something in 5 years, but there's a million people who want to write a Star Wars book, and you should do something else because like it's going to be really terrible and all this stuff. And I was like, that's fine. I can wait. I can be patient. And it was 5 years later, so 2020, when I was invited to do the Mandalorian novel.
Yes.
So she was right. So it's like, yeah. It's like, well, that's 5 years. So she was absolutely right. And then that obviously didn't happen. And then that turned into Shadow of the Sith. But kind of before that, I did a Stranger Things novel called Darkness on Edge of Town. Now, that was exactly the same people that do the Star Wars books. It's Tom Holler and the whole team at Del Rey. And it's like, yeah, I'll do that. There's no Star Wars books available. I'll do Stranger Things because I love Stranger Things. That's was like, yeah, of course. That in itself was a dream project. It was so good. And I did a IDW Star Wars Adventures story. I'm trying to remember what year that was, but it was kind of when I was doing things like, I do my own stuff, but I was doing the Star Wars Adventures. I did the first From a Certain Point of View anthology. And again, it's because I met the editors, and I kind of made friends with them, and we hung out, and I live in the UK, but I always go to things like San Diego Comic Con or New York Comic Con, because that's where you do the work. You meet people, and all my editors are in the States. My agent is based in the States, so this is the time when you go and hang out with them. And I think it's really valuable. It's kind of on a professional level, it's really valuable. So I think so then Mandalorian came along, didn't do that, but we turned that into Shadow of the Sith, which was 2020, and then of course the book came out in 2022. And like I was thinking about this the other day, that book Shadow of the Sith came out in June 2022, and then I think it was like the next day almost we started talking about doing a Darth Vader movie.
Interesting.
Wow.
So again, that's like 3 years ago. And in the meantime, I did other things. I did things like the two other From a Certain Point of View anthologies. So I've got a story in all three, and I've done Warcraft and other bits and pieces that are all related to the same kind of editorial teams and things.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like here we are.
And have you always been a Star Wars fan, or is it something like growing up you kind of started getting into? Or
well, it was definitely growing up. So I'm old enough. Like I'm an original trilogy guy. So it was growing up in the 80s and watching it on VHS, like home rental, because my dad worked for an advertising agency, which meant that at weekends he could borrow the company's VHS machine, home video machines, because they were really, we didn't have one for years and years. Now, at the time, that's like a luxury kind of item. So he would borrow it at the weekend, and we'd go to the rental store, and I'd get The Empire Strikes Back, and just for probably, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's all I wanted to do. It's like he'd bring it home on a Friday night. We would go and rent Empire Strikes Back, and I'd watch it. And also, because of his job, he used to do a lot of business travel to places like Hong Kong and Japan, where he could buy Star Wars toys that weren't available in New Zealand, because I'm from New Zealand. Yeah, so it's like suddenly he'd come home and like a suitcase full of, like, I remember the X-Wing box, and like he bought an AT-AT, which took up like the whole suitcase and the box and everything.
Yeah.
Which is really like, so it's completely lucky that he could do that. And this is not the normal sort of, growing up in New Zealand watching Star Wars experience. But like, so I was watching Star Wars and playing with the action figures and creating my own Star Wars stories that way. But at the same time, I was watching Doctor Who on TV, and see, with Doctor Who, rather than toys, it was the books. Because at my school library, like, it had all the Doctor Who books, and then because I love Doctor Who, I started getting those for like Christmas presents and birthday presents and things. So I was writing my own Doctor Who stories as a 7-year-old. Well, we've still got some of them too. They're not good, but you
gotta start somewhere, right?
I don't know. Well, the thing. So I was writing Doctor Who stories in writing, but I was also creating Star Wars stories using the toys and the action figures.
Oh.
So those two kind of things what led me to here, where I've written Star Wars and I've written Doctor Who professionally, which is really amazing. So yeah, completely, I'm exactly the right age. I just grew up in the 80s, and it was all that whole cliche, Master Universe, Transformers, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Mask. I've probably got a shelf full behind me somewhere, or in a cupboard. Just, I'm just such a cliche 80s nerd.
I was curious, did the Doctor ever board the Millennium Falcon?
No, there's never crossover. I kept it, really separate for some reason. I should have done that.
Yeah. I was also born in the 80s, 1980, so I lived my whole childhood was in the 80s. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but it's funny, but also something cool to hear that things you were doing as a kid just to pass the time, you were able to turn that into what you do now for a living. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting. I think there was something else where I wanted to write stories. So it wasn't just because I liked Star Wars or Doctor Who, because there were times when I've kind of, growing up, I kind of went off Star Wars or went off Doctor Who and then came back to it later.
Sure.
But in those periods, I still was writing stuff. And like, especially at high school, I started just writing stuff that wasn't Star Wars or Doctor Who. So I think that had to be there as well. There had to be something that made me want to do that. And then it just sort of all came together sort of later, where I could use that. Because that's the thing, it's like people come up to me and they say, how do I write a Star Wars book? I'd like to be a Star Wars author, or Doctor Who or whatever.
Sure.
But the thing is, like, the key is you don't want to be a Star Wars author. You just want to be an author, or a writer. You don't want to write Star Wars. You just want to write.
Sure.
So thinking about it from that point of view, really, like, it turned the whole thing around for you. And if you get the opportunity to do something like Star Wars, if you love Star Wars or whatever it might be, then that's amazing. But that's not why you do it. And that's an important distinction, I think.
Yeah, I think myself, we've all at some point sitting down and written stuff. I'm writing something that my daughter gave me an idea for something. So no Star Wars or any franchise related, something I've never kind of even written. So yeah, just getting into it, and if you want to be a writer, and then hopefully that happens, whatever franchise you like. You mentioned the Mandalorian novel, and I remember when that was announced. I was so excited for it, and then kind of dropped off. But at the same time, I'm so happy that it turned into Shadow of the Sith, because that became in my top 5 Star Wars books. Is right here behind me, and I know if we could just do a whole show just on Shadow of the Sith, we would, talking to you about it. But how was it? How did you feel about being able to expand on Rey's parents, their name, their backstory, give a backstory, Dathan and Mira? I know you're very close to those characters. How, for you as a Star Wars fan, as a writer, how did it feel to be able to give backstory, especially to Rey, which is such a beloved character now in the franchise?
Yeah, that's probably my biggest thing probably ever in Star Wars is going to be Rey's parents.
Sure.
Because they existed previously, because we see them briefly in The Rise of Skywalker. They exist, but there was nothing. So I named them. I came up with the names, that is amazing. That is completely amazing. And I said that I think is the one thing that is my greatest kind of contribution to Star Wars, is I named Rey's parents. If we ever get like a Rey movie, and they're mentioned
when we get a Rey movie,
but I don't know, I would just I'd spontaneously combust in the movie theater or something if the names are mentioned.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, but it was the kind of what I liked about it was the freedom, because when they're like, okay, we've got this other book you could do if you wanted, and it's take the line from The Rise of Skywalker where they go and meet Lando on Masana, and he just says, oh yeah, me and Luke were chasing Ochi of Bestin. And it's well, take that line and write that story. That was the entire instruction.
Wow.
Nothing else. So from that, it's okay, I'll write a book, I guess, about that. Because again, it's well, there's nothing. It's set between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, and at that time we had hardly anything. There's some books, some comics, but not much at all. Rey's parents were well, there's nothing there.
There's nothing,
yeah. So it was that book, the freedom of that book was really amazing.
I think that's
it's unusual. It's when you do Star Wars or whatever, you have to fit something in to such a particular point.
Yeah.
Or tell a particular character story, and it's got to fit between a movie or a TV or a comic or something, which is great. And that's what I love doing, because it's a real puzzle. You have to work out how that all works, which I love doing. But again, as I said, for Shadow of the Sith, it's just write it. Luke, we know what happens to Luke. I don't know, is it 15 years later or something? It's a long way away. And we know what happens to Lando because we see him in The Rise of Skywalker. But all I had to do was sort of get the middle point, the direction that they were heading in.
Yeah. I think that's why when you mentioned that, don't go into the wanting to just be a Star Wars writer, going to being a writer, and then if you get a chance to write Star Wars book, because if I just want to write a Star Wars story and they tell me, okay, go write a story about this line in a movie, I'm I have no idea where I would even start. And from that little kind of prompt that they gave you to write Shadow of the Sith, I understand why this background in writing is very important.
Yeah, because they have to just trust you. They have to trust you to do the job. Because every Star Wars book, they're we need this. We need this. It's got to do this character. They can't hold your hand and tell you what to do and hope that what you hand in at the end is what they want. They've got to okay, well, we trust you to do it. Go and do it. It'll be really good. And we know it will be good. And we don't have to worry about it. Yeah. That's the same with any this time. Said I've done Doctor Who recently. It's just write the story, and we trust that it's going to be what we want. But you only get that through experience.
Sure. When you get a chance, like you mentioned, to not just bring race funds to life, basically, but also create your own characters. You have a great character in Master of Evil, Halan Goth. We'll get to him later. What do you find more challenging, or at the same time, I guess, more interesting, creating new characters for a world like Star Wars or be Doctor Who or every other franchise, or having to write those legacy characters like Luke Skywalker, Lando, Anakin, and make sure that you stay kind of faithful to those characters at the same time? What's more challenging? Do you prefer one to the other?
I think the key point is those legacy characters. I hope you can still hear me. You can hear me?
Yeah, you're fine.
My
We can
video
hear
went. My internet trouble. Okay, the legacy characters are very important because that's why people buy the books.
Mhm.
They see Luke Skywalker on the cover, they see Darth Vader on the cover, they see, I don't know, Chewbacca on the cover, whatever, Princess Leia.
Mhm.
That's why they're buying the books. So it's really vital that those characters are treated well and are true to what people expect. People, if you go into any book, a Star Wars book, there's an expectation of what is coming, for character-wise anyway. So that's key. When you're doing original characters, like I said, you mentioned Goth, that's really great because obviously you're going to create new characters because this is Star Wars and like you have to tell new stories.
Sure.
But the trick is like you have to create a new character that can somehow be as big and alive and interesting as Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, which are characters that people have loved now for nearly 50 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Like they've grown up with them. Like we've grown up with them. You have to create a new character that can somehow stand up to them and like be in the same scene and like they interact, and they can't vanish on the page when Darth Vader walks in because they are the ones telling the story. So again, it comes from experience, and this is everything I'm talking about comes from experience because story comes from character, not the other way around. So if you have characters that are strong enough to do things, which is the story, then you kind of have to work with that. So like Goth was for Master of Evil was like the first thing that came to my mind was this character Goth. And I knew once I had Goth that he could tell the story about Darth Vader that the book needed.
Cool.
So I kind of like, having said that, like there's an absolute thrill to writing Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. Like I cannot believe sometimes that like you type it, it's like this is like they're speaking. These are words that I'm putting into Darth Vader, and it's real Star Wars. Like it's not makeup, it's not fanfic. Like it's real Star Wars. So that's absolutely amazing, and the kind of the feeling you get with that is different, very different to a character like Goth or whoever. But the key is like you have to then realize that they are real people in the story. So they all have to have their own voice, which is strong enough to go head to head, even if they're new, even if they're legacy. But that's part of it. I love doing that.
I was going to ask you what it was to write for Darth Vader. I think you kind of answered it, but I got one question. I didn't plan on this. I just kind of remembered the other day. There's another character that I believe you're very fond of, and it's Allian General Enric Pryde, which I know you post about him. You love talking about. What was it about that character that he was great in Rise of Skywalker, but you gave him a lot to do in Shadow of the Sith. Also, your story in a certain point of view. He likes to drink. He likes to smoke a little death sticks. He's got a Wookiee pelt or something. It's not the best person out there, but it's very interesting the way you kind of use him in your stories.
Well, that came from watching The Rise of Skywalker originally when I went to the cinema. I didn't know that Richard E. Grant, the actor, was going to be in Star Wars. That he's my favorite actor.
Oh, wow.
So when he appears, I was like, what is happening? He's in Star Wars. This is crazy. And the other factor of that is that, General Pryde, he just sort of appears. He's in the movie. But he's really, like, he's in charge. Like, he's actually giving Hux orders. It's a very weird sort of, where did he come from? What was he doing the last couple of movies? So there was this kind of mystery of what he's been doing, and yet he's the boss. And Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
And then I realized that there's a movie, Richard E. Grant's first movie was called With Nail and I, from 1986, 87. And it's a black comedy about two actors who are out of work. And it's all like it's lots of heavy drinking and smoking, and they're down and outs. The whole thing is they're trying to go on holiday to take a break, and it goes all wrong. So this Richard E. Grant's first movie, and I loved that. It's one of my favorite movies. And I realized that Pryde is basically the character with Nail that he plays in that movie. Just older, like 30 years older. So my approach to writing Pryde, I thought I managed to get him to Shadow of the Sith, because I thought, well, if I because again, he's the actor is the right kind of age. All I had to do was go backwards from whenever they filmed Rise of Skywalker, like 2019, 2018, whatever. Yeah, and then, okay, he's going to be this old, so he'll be doing this. And then again, from Shadow backwards again to Return of the Jedi, because he's in my story in the, from a certain point of view, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Because again, knowing where he was later in life, I could go backwards, and it's like, okay, well, he's going to be doing this. And I could, put in as much With Nail and I as I could. This is so bad of me. I quote lines from the movie.
Oh, wow.
I give those lines to Pryde. Nobody's noticed, which kind of is annoying, because
we're gonna go watch this movie now.
This is With Nail and I in space. Honestly, if you watch With Nail and I, it will change everything. You will suddenly, Shadow of the Sith will be a different book if you watch With Nail and I.
I will give this a month.
This is totally true. I recommend it. It's a great movie anyway. But then, if you imagine this is Pryde as a kind of late 20s or whatever, then amazing.
Makes sense. I love Pryde A because of Richard E. Grant. I don't think there's an actor out there that can sell the menace that Richard E. Grant has, but at the same time that you see his eyes and you're like, this guy is having so much fun doing this movie.
Yeah.
And also Pryde is weird because he's like a true believer, which usually in the Empire we have all these people who I don't really care about this dark side thing, but Pryde is all in it.
Yeah. And I also love, maybe the whole reason why I put him in Shadow of the Sith was so that bit in The Rise of Skywalker when he races down to the hangar bay in his Ochi's ship, and he's furious, and he turns around and he's like, whose ship is this? Because he's realizing he's seen this ship before.
Yeah.
And it belongs to Ochi, and Ochi, their encounters in Shadow of the Sith, it's basically just a couple of arguments.
Yeah.
Because they really, Pryde hates Ochi.
Yeah.
So in Rise of Skywalker, he's like, whose ship is this? That suddenly, I was like, I need to put him in Shadow of the Sith and kind of work backwards. So that's the whole reason kind of why he's there.
That's pretty clever. Adam, so I'm fascinated, characters like Darth Vader have existed for almost 50 years. The Emperor has been around for a long time. What do you think is about, the essence of these characters that 50 years later, 40 years later, we can still come back to them and be like, I think there's a story here that hasn't been told, and further keep exploring them?
Yeah, and I think it's because, to use Darth Vader as an example, people say it's we know everything there is to know about Darth Vader. We've seen all the stories. There's comics, there's books, there's whatever. But those are all just snapshots of Star Wars. you know, if you look at the original trilogy of 3 movies, Darth Vader is in it. His screen time is something like 32 minutes
Yep.
out of, what, 6 hours. And yet, when we think of the original trilogy, it's like, well, Darth Vader's the bad guy. It's like, this is, you know, we don't even consider that. So the fact that he has such an impact in such a relatively small on screen time.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that actually, especially because so Master of Evil is set just after Revenge of the Sith, so we've got that whole transition from the Republic to the Empire, which is way more complicated than we can imagine. Like it's not just they flicked the switch and suddenly it was the Empire. So kind of realizing that within the Star Wars story, it's far more complicated than we can understand. Because like if it was, you know, if that was a life and that was happening, it's chaos and confusion and transition and, you know, all these new systems and things going into place. So a character like Vader he is for me is the most complex character in Star Wars.
Yep.
Now we sometimes forget that because he's so part of our popular culture in general. Like, you know, everybody knows the silhouette, the mask, the breathing,
the voice, everything.
Exactly. Like, you know, and there's for 50 years, but we forget that actually when he first appeared in 1977, you know, when he storms in and it's like hands on hips and giving orders, this character looks like nothing else we've ever seen.
Yeah.
He's so strange, and we forget things like his mask is like a skull.
Yep.
Like it's a deliberate design. It's a skull, and the cloak and the fact that he's really huge. So that's why the character kind of persisted for us in pop culture. But if you look at it from the Star Wars universe, how did that imagery that we know so well kind of get its foundation in the Star Wars universe? Because again, the Emperor put him in the suit that looked like that for a reason. Like everything has a purpose. And also with Vader, you know, we can't really comprehend the transformation that he's undergone, because although we've seen him from, you know, young child, adulthood, ultimately to his death, that's not his life. That is just snapshots of his life.
Yeah.
And we can't comprehend the transformation from Anakin Skywalker to Darth Vader, but then Darth Vader through his encounter with Obi-Wan to the Darth Vader that we see in the original trilogy. So all those things make him such an interesting character and such a powerful character. And I think, as I said, the most complicated character in Star Wars. So you could tell Darth Vader stories forever.
Yeah.
And still not get to the full depth of his character. He's not just a big guy with a lightsaber who kills people and it's exciting.
Yeah.
That's part of Vader, absolutely, and that's the spectacular part that we see, especially like in the comics, because the comics obviously visual.
Sure.
So you see great imagery and great artwork and the lightsaber and all that. But when you talk about like a book, it's really about it's not just about Vader, but it's about the perception that other people have of Vader, because that's almost more important. You know, Vader it's sort of like diminishing returns. You especially this time in the Star Wars history, because if we're talking about that first bit of the Empire just after Revenge of the Sith, when nobody knows who Vader is, like he's just appeared, and the whole part of the story is Goth discovering who Vader is and what that means for him personally, but also for the Empire as a whole. But like, the more you get into the more you get into Vader, the more his mystery diminishes. And when his mystery diminishes, the nightmare terror quality of him, which for outsiders is the most striking thing.
Yeah.
you start to lose that. So it's a bit like the book Dracula. Someone compared the book to Dracula, which, like, I'm not saying Dracula's a classic. Dracula's the classic that has gone down in history.
Yeah. No, it's
The
maybe in
thing about
50 years people will
Dracula-
use this to.
Yeah. But the thing about Dracula is, it's a book about Dracula as much as Dracula's a character.
Yeah.
Dracula is not in Dracula very much, actually. It's about other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Dracula is so powerful and so dangerous that when he's not in the book, everybody is still thinking about Dracula.
Yeah.
So, like in Master of Evil, Darth Vader's the main character. We see his point of view sometimes. Goth is also the main character, and we see his point of view.
Yeah.
And there's a part in the book, which no spoilers, but like Vader goes away and then he comes back. But like when he goes away, all that does is focus everybody else's attention on Vader. It's like he's so powerful that his presence is felt even more when he's not there. Which is which I think is like the Dracula thing. It's like Dracula is so dangerous and evil and powerful and important that when he's not there, it's almost worse than when he is there. Which is the whole thing of the book Dracula. So Master of Evil is the kind of same thing. It's like, Darth Vader is, as I said, so complicated and so deep, but also to us, he's the other. He's like we can't understand what he's gone through and the transformation, that he is really different to us in ways that we don't understand. Which is a very long way to answer your question.
Yeah.
Your question was. It's like Darth Vader. Yeah, Darth Vader's cool. He's really cool.
So
it's very cool.
Yeah, no, Alberto, I'm gonna fast track one of my questions because
I skipped one of yours by mistake. I'm sorry if you want to go back.
It's fine. No, but I want to pull on a thread that Adam mentioned. So for me, it's fascinating. As time has gone on, for me, the relationship between Darth Vader and Palpatine has changed a lot. I think as a kid, it's very easy to watch those movies and be like, oh yeah, they're just like the two evil guys in the galaxy. But when you start really thinking about it, you start realizing like Darth Vader is just another pawn in the game. He's just like under the thumb of Palpatine most of the time until he finally finds the strength and courage to break free. So for you writing the book, do you feel like you learned something new about these two characters' relationship? Do you feel like something changed in the way you see them in the movies?
Yeah, I think so. And you're exactly right. Like the relationship between them, like everything else in the book, is more complicated than you think. I think, Vader starts the book very much as Palpatine is the master. I'm the apprentice. Palpatine knows so much more than I'll ever know, which Vader then wants to find out about. By the end of the book, and it's not really a spoiler, but like he knows, or he realizes that actually Palpatine's been playing a bit of a game. And he's sort of like, he fell for it in a way, which changes the dynamic between them. So he's still like the apprentice, the master. Insidious is like the most powerful of all the Sith there ever has been. So what changed for me is like, actually that dynamic, it's shifted. Vader is aware of his position and what the kind of the weaknesses of that. And he knows about the Sith and how they work, and the kind of the theory that I have, where really the master draws the strength from the apprentice, because the apprentice is all this hate, fear, anger that we see in the original trilogy. The Emperor's like, encouraging is the wrong word, but like he's focusing Vader on all that stuff, those dark emotions, because then that fuels his power and stuff. But the master takes that from the apprentice. It's like that's where the strength of the master comes from. It's like, because it's control. It's all about control. And like Vader is in such a position, I guess, like all apprentices of the Sith are. It's like the master controls the apprentice, and like if you can get your apprentice to be consumed by all those negative emotions under the guise of this is the dark side. It gives you power. This is what drives you. It's your destiny. You know, whereas like I'm sure, like, you know, Palpatine, if you think about it, okay, is evil, absolutely. But like there's not the anger and the rage.
No.
It's it is there, but in a different way. It's like it's a kind of background thing. Whereas with Vader, it's very much rage, anger, fear, pain, you know, hate, all that stuff, which is all control from Palpatine. So I think Vader he's starting to realize this because, you know, Vader's obviously he's smart, and we see Vader. This is the other thing about Vader's journey as a character. Like we haven't seen all of it because he's different in the original trilogy. He's different in the Obi-Wan TV series.
Yep.
He's different in the comics because his progression of character, you know, Revenge of the Sith and Master of Evil, that's the very beginning of Vader. And then in the comic, Charles Soule's comic, which is sort of the same time as my book, then jumps forward a few years, and his character's always sort of evolving. And this whole thing of like Padme, and you know, he wants to get Padme back, and you know, we see it in things like the Vader Immortal video game, which is actually set like quite close to A New Hope. And you know, the whole thing of building his castle on Mustafar is to access the power of the dark side and kind of go through the portal to get Padme. But again, that happens maybe 10 years later after Revenge of the Sith. So the whole thing of Master of Evil, it's like, yeah, okay, maybe we have seen those stories before, but where did that begin? Like, what is the beginning of that journey for Vader? And this is part of the question, like the relationship between the Emperor and Vader. This is, you know, Master of Evil is all about how that relationship shifts.
Yeah.
So then Vader starts to take a little bit more control of his own destiny and what he wants, because he knows that Palpatine is not going to really give him what he wants. But he can't just be a passive, you know, weapon that Palpatine wields. He's got his own destiny, and maybe he's got to work at that himself. Which that's the change, for me.
The relationship that those two have in the book is very interesting. Again, not going too much into spoilers, it happens pretty early on that Vader lies to Palpatine about something, and we won't go into it. At that point, you don't expect Vader to be lying to Palpatine because we tend to believe that Palpatine knows everything that's going on. So for Vader to kind of play that same cat and mouse game, oh, you're not going to give me all the information I need. I'm going to go find it myself. I'm going to lie to you. But that's when God comes in and what his part in the book is. And then honestly, also, I was one of those that said, oh, really? Do we need another Darth Vader story? We've read all of them. We've seen him in the movies. But as soon as he's on the page and you start reading, then it goes straight to what you mentioned. Oh, this is why he's probably one of the biggest villains of all time, pop culture character everyone knows, because he's an interesting character and I want to keep reading about him. So that's why we keep getting more stories about him, because he's such an interesting character that you could keep telling those stories and even repeating some of those, because we know it was an excerpt that came out, so we're not spoiling anything. Your version of him bleeding the kyber crystal that we had seen in the comic books, but like you mentioned, it's two different mediums. And it's a little bit different. He finds something else about Mustafar and what he's trying to do over there. So just seeing the same stories from different point of views can still kind of elevate those stories that have come before. So going into Master of Evil, what type of research did you do going into that book? And was it similar to, you mentioned for Shadow of the Sith, that they told you, hey, this line that Lando says, wrong with it. Was it something similar? Because Master of Evil, we cannot remember that what Obi-Wan said in A New Hope, just the Master of Evil, Darth. Was that something similar? How did this come about?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was more the fact that this year was going to be the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith.
Jesus.
And the fact that and the fact that there wasn't a Darth Vader novel for at this point 10 years. I know Vader is in the Thrawn books and there's been in other things, but like really a book that's about Darth Vader. So there's those kind of two things really, and the line, you're only a master of evil, Darth, is like one of my favorite lines in Star Wars. So that title just came to me.
All right.
Kind of before anything. So that was the only thing. So like, okay, and also if it's going to be a Revenge of the Sith anniversary book, either officially or unofficially, just because it's out the same year, then it has to be set as close as possible to Revenge of the Sith.
Okay.
Because it's a Revenge of the Sith anniversary book, unofficially. So that was it. I had no.
Okay.
That was it.
Okay.
That was the story. Like just
I'll tell you before you go to your question. I saw, Adam, you reposted someone that said, "Oh, the unofficial kind of sequel trilogy to those prequel trilogy books with Master and Apprentice, with Brotherhood, and now Master of Evil." Was that is that just kind of happen, or was that kind of the plan all along?
It's both, I think.
Okay.
I mean, this is the thing. Like I know some things about what happens with Star Wars publishing, but not everything.
Sure.
And there's definitely that's deliberate. Yeah, it's like whatever the years were. Yeah, so Phantom Menace. Yeah, absolutely. And it's really cool that now there are 3 books which fit that 20-year anniversary thing. It's kind of, I like that thing as a fan. That's really cool. It's like, oh yeah, now suddenly it becomes clear. Oh, this is a trilogy sort of. But yeah, it's a combination of timing and planning and things. I think.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it, but now I want to read those 3 books kind of back to back to back, kind of as a movie, to see how it all fits together. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that's good.
So, Adam, you've been able to tackle the dark side in both books. Is there any character in the Star Wars franchise where you would be like, I would like to see the dark side from their point of view, and maybe just like explore deeper?
There's so many. Well, there's 2 things. It's like as a deep Star Wars nerd, like we all are, I love it when you can take a tiny character from the background and make a whole thing about them, because that's fun. It's also deeply geeky, and you have to. Well, you got to be careful about, like, these are books that people have to read, but they're not just for us. You gotta, I love it's kind of funny because my first Star Wars book is a Luke Skywalker book, and my second Star Wars book is a Darth Vader book. So I clearly need to go through the main characters of Star Wars. So maybe the next one will be about, I don't know,
Kylo Ren book.
Yeah, that would be good. So, because actually, I mean, this is then we're coming up to anniversaries again. So this year was also the 10th anniversary of Force Awakens.
Jesus, yes.
So we've got anniversaries are good because you can just find stories to tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I was thinking all those movies came out 20 years ago. It's wild.
But like as I said, my first meeting with the Star Wars editors was in 2015, which was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So then, at that point, Revenge of the Sith was only 10 years old.
Oh, Jesus.
But it's like Revenge of the Sith both feels like a new movie, but also it's a movie from 20 years ago. I can't quite get my head around how that works.
I mean,
because it's
there's something about the prequels. Like, I feel like all Star Wars is timeless, but there's something about the prequels that I watched, and I'm like, this does not feel 20 to 30 years old, like, at all.
Yeah. Well, I think because the prequels, I mean, I love the prequels, and for me, the prequels, because of when they were made and how they were planned and stuff, it's a more like visually cohesive Star Wars. This is like, it's instantly recognizable as the Star Wars universe. This is what Star Wars looks like. It's what Star Wars sounds like. What Star Wars feels like. probably more so than the original trilogy, because obviously the original trilogy was the first time round, and like they're just working things out and what to put in, what to keep out. How does that change from Empire Strikes Back is very different to A New Hope.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi again feels different, but it's probably a little bit closer to Empire Strikes Back. It feels like Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi are like part of the same thing.
Yeah.
A New Hope, because it was the first one, they ran out of money, there's all kinds of problems. It feels different. But yeah, the prequel trilogies, this is George like going, this is what I think Star Wars is. So this is what it looks like. And,
because
so it has a timeless quality, like you say,
because the original trilogy, it's a galactic conflict, but we're following this ragtag group of rebels from hiding spot to hiding spot, and then in the prequels, George gets the chance to be like, "Hey, this is the entire galaxy. We're not just going from base to base, hiding from the Empire." So
yeah. So in the prequels and the original, and even the sequel trilogy, all have droids, and droids are very important in Star Wars, R2-D2, C-3PO, of course BB-8. So every time a new Star Wars comes out, we all want to see who the new droid is. Even Andor with B2EMO had a cool droid. Here you have a droid that's very important to the story. It's very important to one of the main characters, with his Alan Goth in TC-99. Again, very important. It's not just a droid to be a droid. It's very important in the story. How do you come up with the decision to make that character a droid instead of, let's say, a human or an alien? And then given the personality that he has, because again, personalities in droids are very different in Star Wars, and that's kind of going to make or break the character. How did that decision come about? Hey, this is going to be a droid, and this is his personality.
Well, I think it came naturally from the fact that Goth is sick, but he's trying to hide it. So he's going to do every trick he can to kind of keep it a secret from everybody. So having a droid available, to me, seemed the obvious thing to do. Because droids they're not just machines, they're characters, This is the great thing about Star Wars. Every Star Wars movie or TV show has a great droid. I mean, the greatest droids in C-3PO and R2-D2. Like Darth Vader, like some of the most famous, recognizable characters in all of pop culture. Not just Star Wars, but like in anything. So to have a story where a droid is very prominent as a character, I have always wanted to do. I'm just trying to think. I think Shadow of the Sith has R2-D2 with Luke, which again was important because I thought I love R2-D2, and it was important that he stuck with Luke. And I think there's a couple of other droids. There's one later on, the KB-68, I think is the droid, which was maybe the start of me thinking about what if a droid was more a companion than just a tool or a computer or something. Like, what if a droid could exist as their own being, not just a machine? So there's all kinds of aspects of like freedom and control, and one of the themes of the Solo movie is all about droid freedom and sentience and things. It's so that's a really important part of Star Wars. So I kind of thought I'll do that a little bit for Master of Evil, but it's just one of these natural things where Goth and this droid just started talking to each other, and when I was writing it, and they're a pair. They're in the book together for a lot, but they go off and they do their own separate things. And especially because like TC-99, goes off and does stuff on his own. But he had to be more than just a droid to do that, because otherwise, why would you be reading it? It's just a machine. But like, he's a character. He's in the book. He's a person. Which like that sounds so bad, but like, well, but when you think of droids as being machines, and are they sentient? Are they free? Are they enslaved? Are they equal to living beings? These are all really important questions.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, I think, for Goth and TC99, yeah, they are friends, which is really important. I think it's a really great pair. Like, I really loved writing them. And it's kind of sad what happens without spoiling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we start to kind of ramp down, without giving too many spoilers out, what do you hope fans get out of Master of Evil, or what can you tell fans out there to get them even more excited to go ahead and pick this book up? We already talked, yeah, it's another Darth Vader story, but not really. There's a reason why there's more Darth Vader stories. But what can you say out there to get fans excited for this one?
Okay, well, I think maybe three things. So firstly, it's a really interesting part of the Empire. This is really early. And through Goth, because Goth is being the soldier, he's experienced, he's decorated, he thinks he knows what's going on. And then he meets Darth Vader, and Darth Vader ignites a lightsaber, and Goth is suddenly, what is happening? The Jedi are dead, the lightsabers are burned, we won the war. And then suddenly Darth Vader is there. Is he a Jedi? Is he something else? Who knows? So like for kind of that early Empire, which is really interesting, like really, really interesting. And then secondly, like as I said, it's a Darth Vader book. It's also a book about Darth Vader. And if you think about Darth Vader as being the most complicated and interesting character in Star Wars, there are so many different ways to examine his role in the Empire and his role within Star Wars. And there are times when, yeah, you want to see him going ham and wailing with his lightsaber, and like it's really visual action, excitement.
Sure.
You know, one of the best things in Rogue One for me, it's a great movie, but like at the end, everybody loves the corridor scene where Vader suddenly appears and he takes all the rebels out. It's really dramatic and spectacular and scary and action-packed. But, you know, you can't have that without 2 hours of Rogue One beforehand, building up to that. You can't have a 2-hour Vader corridor scene. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And it would be way less interesting than what we actually get. So for me, yeah, so Master of Evil, it's a Darth Vader book, and it's a book about Darth Vader. So I think go in with that kind of like, you're going to learn so much about this character through other people, because that is the mystery and the power of Darth Vader. Like, as soon as you start getting closer, you diminish the mystery, you diminish the terror, you diminish the impact that he has within the Star Wars universe and within kind of our, you know, because absolutely we are saturated with Darth Vader. He's everywhere. Like, everybody, without even seeing Star Wars, knows who Darth Vader is. So like, there's a way to see past that and to remember the original creation and the impact that he had. So Master of Evil, I think, does go there in a kind of new and different way. And absolutely, maybe it's not what people expect, but I think it's so much more interesting to explore Vader that way.
Yeah.
There's two things. And the third thing, I mean, Goth and TC99, this is a friendship. This is a Star Wars book about friendship, as well as all the horror and darkness, scary stuff. Like, it's a book about two friends in Star Wars, which is actually not that common.
No.
I'm not saying it's new, but like, you don't see it that often. And the thing about a novel is that you've got the space to, you know, go into that kind of thing more so than a comic, maybe more so than a movie, or because that's what novels are. You know, it's different type of storytelling. So yeah, so like it's 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, and it's got an amazing cover. It's called Master of Evil. So
yeah, it's cool that we got the novelization of Revenge of the Sith came out, and then Master of Evil is like perfect, it's right after it. And we never mentioned that Harlan Goth is actually one of the Emperor's Royal Guard. We've never gotten stories about Royal Guard, how all of those them were, the inner workings, being next to the Emperor. We always think about Darth Vader. No, there's other people close to him. So when you start thinking about it, it's a lot that you can explore, and you did with this character, which was very interesting. Right, Oti, I know we kind of skipped some of your questions. I don't know if you want to go back.
No, I think the reason I skipped them is because I know Adam kind of like answered them, so I didn't want to be redundant.
All right, so with that, we'll bring an end to our interview. Adam, again, thank you so much for joining us. Everyone out there, Master of Evil, just look at that cover. Just if you don't want to read it, just buy it and put it on your shelf because the cover in itself kind of is worth it. But it's a great book. Just came out this past week. Adam, again, thank you for being here and congratulations on the book coming out.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and I hope my internet held up. It's been
Yes.
No
God,
issues.
today.
So
Yeah.
Really?
nope.
Yeah.
Perfect.
After that first kind of difficult, what is it,
It was smooth
communication?
sailing.
Yeah.
Oh,
We had the
really?
Sayo Babel thing. Invasion where communications went down. But after that, smooth sailing. Again, thank you so much.
Excellent.
Darth Vader, such an interesting character. And like Oti mentioned after he read Shadow of the Sith, something, if you read a Star Wars book, we'll be there. And
Yep.
both of us are fan of Doctor Who, so we'll try to get into those stories also.
Yeah.
And we will watch that Richard E. Grant movie and see if it changes.
No, yeah, you need to watch it and then tell me because we need to talk about it because it'll change everything. Yeah.
I definitely will.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Thank you, Adam. We'll be back. Everyone, thank you if you're watching this. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. And when we get cool people to join us, and if you're listening to our audio podcast, give us a 5-star rating and review. We'll be back soon. Again, for Oti, for Adam, and everyone watching today, thank you. Stay safe, be safe, and may the force be with you.